Hello again, Ian Stuckey with Mastermind Games. This time the Hounds of Nozuki from Relic Knights. So this set is 4 models, 2 copies each of, two each of 2 different sculpts. For the most part, I'll be doing just one of each on camera, but there's something I want to show you right off the bat, so we'll do them all right here, right now, real quick. Dark Elf Skin 09164. Now, also known as the Aga, the Hounds of Nozuki are canid creatures native to the hellish dimension Nozuki hails from. And while this is one of the few creatures in that realm that can be bred in captivity, no Beastmasters prefer to catch them wild, because the wild ones are more ferocious. I'm going to use a fairly large brush here to get this done quickly, but we're just going to do a quick coat over the whole thing like this. The jaws I'll pick out later in another color, but I needed to do this with haste here, so I don't care as much about nicking some of the other sections that will be picked out in other colors later. This is a fairly simple color scheme. And yeah, this foot here didn't quite reach the base. It happens. Nothing too big there. And I'm deliberately leaving part of the top clear, at least for now. Alright, yeah, I'm not going to be able to do this the way I had originally hoped to, so we'll have to improvise, and I'll just hit the rest off camera once you get an idea of what I'm going for here. So I'm going to take Deep Red 09002 now. Making sure to get a generous amount out because of what I'm doing and how I have to do it. So, using a brush that isn't quite as large. I'm going wet on wet here to get the bristles on the back, on the tail. Doing wet on wet. You know what? I just want to do the back and tail, I think. But wet on wet to blend that in a little better and get the effect I want. I'll do the same thing when I shade. So there you go. This puts a less defined border between the colors, but in this case I think it's going to work out for the best. So I'm going to apply that to the other 3 off camera, and then when I come back I'll start on the next colors. Next, Deep Red 09002. Again, anyway. Two of these sculpts have their mouths open with tongues hanging out, so go ahead and get those. Kind of extending to the cheeks. At least the inside of the cheeks. Go ahead and get the other one. And then Yellowed Bone 09143. Switching over to more of a detail brush. Picking out the claws. Seems I left some gaps between the toes here, but that'll come out when I shade. And then the teeth. And the hounds here seem to literally have jaws like a steel trap. Alright, making sure I'm not dropping hundreds of frames a second, because I'm hearing those same funny noises. And then that includes this detached mandible here. These were a fairly loose fit in the socket. It gave me a fair amount of articulation when choosing how to glue them in. So. Okay, and then I'll get that applied to the rest. Okay, 09002 deep red again. Getting the base, which is the last of the base coats. Not too much water in the brush, just enough to dilute the paint and keep it moist. And being careful around the feet. Though these hounds assemble a little strangely, so that not all of their feet actually touch the base, but they do have enough to form solid contact points. Okay, I'll apply the rest off camera. Alright. 09001 red brick. Actually, I'll use one with an open mouth for this. The base is not entirely dry, but it's enough I can work with. So thinning it out into a wash with roughly 1 part water to 1 part paint, keeping the brush nice and wet during the whole process. Go to the inside of the mouth, hitting the tongue. And getting the red on the tail. And the mane. And then I'll apply to the rest and move on. Okay, next up, Dark Elf Shadow 09163. Being a little more cautious now that I've got more colors on. And try to get a nice solid coat. Okay, making sure I'm not dropping hundreds of frames a second. Being especially careful around the face and ears, because I do not want to hit the teeth. Okay, pretty solid coat, so apply to the rest and move on a bit. Alright, pure white 09039. I'm gonna get some lighting effects set up. This is just gonna fill in the eyes. All 6 of them on each model. Let's go ahead and get all 4 models on camera, so 24 eyes total. Okay. I just kind of realized something about the Hounds of Nozuki. Most predators have their eyes facing forward so they can focus on prey. But the hounds have theirs on the sides of their head. But alien anatomy from another dimension, no less, so it doesn't have to make sense as far as we understand anatomy and its principles. And stained ivory 09142. And this will go on jaws and claws. Being really careful around the tongue so I don't nick the interior of the jaw or the tongue itself. Get these nasty looking detached mandibles. These things definitely have jaws that err on the side of overkill. Okay, and I'll get the rest off camera. Some more layer of shading and lighting to do. Alright, wrapping up lighting and shading. Lemon yellow 09009. So this will get thinned out a little bit more than usual. Normally it's 1 part water, 1 part paint for shading this. 2 to 3 parts water for 1 part paint. One really thin. Less a wash, I suppose, more of a glaze, but there's a pretty subtle difference between the two, to be fair. So, do want some of the white showing through, so just dotting in the eyes. And Woodstain Brown 09160. This is going on the basing. And this one is also getting thinned out a little extra. Mostly to concentrate in little pools I've done here, little craters. Being careful around the feet. Let's go ahead and do another one, so I think I wound up getting off camera there for a minute. And I'm kind of using the entire side of the brush instead of just the tip here. How you hold your brush does make a difference. You'll want to use the tip in most cases, but for broad areas like this, the edge is great. Alright, let that dry. Move on in a bit. Okay. Blood red 09003. Be highlighting with a dry brushing technique. And my bottle of paint is clogged, so paper clip and unclogged. Gonna use this twice. First, so no water, straight paint, rubbing off on a paper towel till it looks like there's just about nothing left, and dust the area to be affected. Going against any contours. Okay. Yep. Always clean your brush thoroughly when you're done. And get that out of the way now that you've seen how I'm doing this. then I think I'm going to switch to another brush. You're going to want a ragged feathered one like this. Creamy Ivory 09144. Claws and jaws. I'm going to concern myself mostly with the most readily visible surfaces. Refreshing the paint as needed. And the thing with dry brushing is the paint will dry very quickly, almost instantaneously, so you can move on right away. Be really careful on the tongue because I don't want to nick that. It's catching more easily on the paws than it is on the teeth. And switching brushes again. It's a good one for it, making sure I'm not dropping hundreds of frames a second. And Dark Elf Highlight 09165. This is going to be one of the major ones. Going against any raised contours to help. It'll help catch the paint. I'm using a fairly large brush for this. Again, refreshing the paint as necessary. To really catch it on the fur near the shins there. Okay. And blood red again, 09003 to finish up. Now I'm going to start with this one because I noticed a spot under the tail I missed, so I can patch it up now. Just a little bit of straight paint down in there, a little more than I normally use for dry brushing. Getting the tail, getting the mane, being careful around the ears. And the base. Kind of see a circular motion I'm using here. Okay, I'll apply to the rest off camera, and there's going to be one last step. Alright, now that highlights one, the last step is to line the base, ruby red 09101. This just gives a nice finish to the perimeter. Switching to a flathead brush for this as well. I use round for most of the painting. And just doing it like a base coat, just one careful coat around the rim. That is too much water right there. There's a little more straight paint to try to correct, being careful to avoid the basing I've done. And I use a faction-specific color for Relic Knights based on the associated color of Esper, which in the case of the Noh Empire is Entropy Red. I like the look of the metallics for this too, so it's kind of a personal nod to real-time strategy games, as in many of those games in that genre, your selected units will have a ring around their perimeter. Practice and repeat, practice and repeat. Repetition is key to mastery. And 3. I'm not sure what's causing it to push away from the primer in some of these areas. Something I'm going to have to figure out. It's also a fairly recent phenomenon as well. I've only noticed it with the white primer. It might be just a chemical thing there. Just about finished. Being careful around the claws where they extend to the edge of the base. And there we go. the Hounds of Nozuki. Ready to mutilate, maul, and massacre anything that's in the general direction they get pointed in. Oh, I see a little bit on the front one here. A little touch up. There we go. Got an actual questing knight and his escort up next. So until then, I am Ian Stuckey with Mastermind Games, signing out.